Good evening, folks. Today, what we're going to talk about is the ongoing diplomatic tussle between Canada and India. Right. And this Canada and India diplomatic problems have sort of escalated over the past couple of months, and especially when allegations were made by the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accusing Indian officials and government agents for potentially being involved in the killing of a Canadian Sikh leader, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, during 18th of July 2023 in Canadian soil, by the way. So this was in British Columbia, right? And that's probably in Canada as well. Guys, I hope everyone can hear me. I just want to make sure, so please give me a like button if folks can hear me, especially in Facebook. Right. All right, okay. So let's sort of talk about the Sikh community in Canada and who was Hardeep Singh Nijjar. All right, okay. Canada is home to the world's largest Sikh community, and the Sikh diaspora had been going to Canada ever since the partition of India. And what happened was, now you have a lot of Sikh Canadians who actually found refuge there, and thanks to the Canadian government, who actually open-heartedly and open arms gave them land, gave them, a citizen and protection, most of all. A place where affected minority communities seek refuge is in Canada, and I truly believe that Canadians have been helping a lot of the Sikh Indian communities. So some of these groups have advocated for Khalistan separatist movement, which sort of carves out an independent Sikh homeland in India. Nijjar, who was killed, was actually vocally very supportive and championed the idea of Khalistan movement, even though he was in America. I think Nijjar was 45 years old when he died, or when he was killed, allegedly by probably the Indian agents, which is what the Canadian government has been saying. Nijjar was born in Punjab and lived in Canada for 25 years. He was accused by the Indian government for multiple militant activities as being a sort of a pro-leader of pro-Khalistan, and also he was also the leader of the Khalistan Tiger Force. Okay, not leader, but I think he was one of the members. And also he was part of an organization called the Sikhs for Justice. Okay. So what happened was that on 18th of June 2023, Nijjar was shot and killed in his pickup truck by two masked gunmen in the parking lot of Guru Nanak Sikh Gurudwara in Surrey, British Columbia in Canada. He walked out of Gurudwara basically that evening and was gunned down by approximately, I think about 2 minutes later, when he went to his Dodge Ram truck. Witnesses said that between 30 to 50 rounds were fired on him. So pretty much it was impossible for any person to survive with that bullets. Fire there was a lot of firing, and he probably died on the spot. Okay, so police received report of a shooting at the Gurudwara at 8:27 p.m. So this was in the evening in Canada. According to witnesses and sources, the gunman who killed Nijjar was a heavy kind of a set or pretty hefty guy, I suppose. Right? Okay. And it is believed that he fled the scene by foot into a waiting car, which was identified as silver 2008 Toyota Camry that sped away. Right. Hold on. Right. Investigators said the two gunmen and the getaway car driver had laid in wait for at least an hour before the murder. Nijjar's death is being investigated by the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, working alongside with IHIT, its Integrated Homicide Investigation Team. So the Canadian authorities, and according to many other sources as well, the investigation is still ongoing, and they have not made any arrest as of now. So let's see where this will go. Right. Now, so let's try to get into the nitty-gritty of what we actually are going to talk about, which is the diplomatic rifts and the problems pertaining to the Canada and India relations. So basically, after the Canadian diplomat was expelled, even the Indian diplomat was expelled. I think so. Basically, it was sort of a tit for tat situation. And what happened was that when the Canadian government had expelled the Indian diplomat in response to the assassination of Nijjar, so in a tit for tat, Indian government expelled Canadian diplomat, and his name was Oliver Sylvester. So according to sources here, Oliver Sylvester, he is a Canadian intelligence agency stationed chief in India under official cover, sources claim. So, by the way, just so you know, the Canadian High Commissioner right now, his name is Cameron McKay. All right? Guys, just hold on. Okay. So, according to Cameron McKay, he is the current diplomat. Okay, sorry guys, I just want to check the lightings here. Alright, okay, sorry about that. It's making some sound here. Alright, okay, sounds good. Very, very sorry. We had some technical problems here. Alright, okay, so hold on. Okay, I hope everyone can hear me, guys. I just want to clarify that if people can hear me, just give me like a thumbs up or something like that. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. So according to the Indian government, particularly the Ministry of External Affairs, they did a sort of a press review, and they have said that India has designated Nijjar as a terrorist in 2020, by the way. So Nijjar was a terrorist according to the Indian government, right? And according to the sources here, on September 19, 2023, a senior Canadian diplomat was expelled and asked to leave India within the next 5 days, right? And also the decision reflects government of India growing concern at the interference of Canadian diplomats in internal matters and their involvement in an anti-India activities. So this is actually written by the External Affairs of India, okay? Right, okay, so India had definitely rejected the allegations of Canada, of what the Canadian government had said to them. Now, the Indian government also claims that we are a democratic polity with a strong commitment of rule of law. Such unsubstantiated allegations seek to shift the focus from Khalistan terrorists and extremists. So basically, what India has been saying to the public is that, look, Nijjar is a terrorist, and he's been working under the Khalistan movement, the pro-Khalistan separatist movement, and we don't like him. And so basically they are condemning even the Canadian government, telling them that why are you supporting such terrorist people in your country? But they also said that the Canadian political figures have openly expressed sympathy for such elements remains a matter of deep concern. Additionally, the space given in Canada to a range of illegal activities, including murder, human trafficking, and organized crime, is not new. So India is saying to Canada that you guys are doing a lot of murders, human trafficking, and also there's a lot of organized crime in Canada. So don't blame us for doing this, for the murder of Nijjar. They also said that we reject any attempts to connect government of India to such developments. We urge the government of Canada to take prompt and effective legal actions against all anti-India elements operating from its soil. Obviously, I think this is true to what I think any other country would do. They would oppose the allegations, right? But then the matter of fact is that we do have an investigation that is still going, and we are yet to see what the results are. So this happened. So there was a meeting during G20 weeks before, a couple of weeks before September, I think, at the summit of G20 in Delhi. Senior officials of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing community was briefed and gave this matter tell them the Five Eyes were briefed regarding this matter, and they were mentioned publicly, okay? But these Five Eyes have sort of let's say they have been a bit silent because of the rise of China, okay, and the Western allies who are courting India at the moment. So I think basically what is Five Eyes? Okay, basically Five Eyes is also called as FVEY. Five Eyes is an intelligence community or an alliance comprising of Australia, America, Canada, New Zealand, and UK. Okay, these are the 5 countries of the Five Eyes. So these countries form a sort of a multilateral agreement of the UK and US agreement. It's sort of a treaty, okay, which signals for cooperation and signal intelligence. Okay, sorry, which probes for cooperation where they can share signal intelligence. Let's put it that way. Okay, and I wanted to let you know about what is Five Eyes. So I've already told you about what is Five Eyes. So what is signals intelligence? So signals intelligence is roughly, according to the United States Department of Defense. So I am going to quote from the American Defense Department, and it has defined the term signal intelligence as number one, a category of intelligence comprising either individually or in combination of all communications intelligence. So this is COMINT. Or it could be electronic intelligence, which is ELINT, okay? And foreign instruments or Foreign Instrumentation Signals Intelligence, which is called FISINT. However, these are all transmit coded secret messages, okay? And in order for any code breaker to break it, they have to decode it, okay? So, like I said, I think it's a form of secret, underhanded signals and intelligent messages within the Five Eyes, okay? So I think you got the gist of what is Five Eyes, by the way. All right. Now, so let's go ahead with what I was saying about Nijjar and the whole case with the Canada and Indian diplomatic rifts. So basically I've done a couple of sources hunting, and I will put the source below, okay? All right, okay, I'm getting some messages in Instagram. Hello, hi, I can hear you there. Thank you. Please feel free to comment down below. All right. Okay, let's see how many views I have here, or how many people have joined me. All right, okay, quite a few. All right. All right, okay, I'm gonna put this on the record here so you can check it out later on. Guys, so this is my podcast number 27, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, 37, sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about what happened during the G20 summit in Delhi. So just recently in September, they had a G summit, and all the leaders from the Western countries and the Eastern countries also came. And what Modi did was he sort of brought this topic up, especially to Canada, and it was sort of a very, a very tight-knit, and it wasn't a very friendly conversation with Justin and Prime Minister Modi. But anyways, whatever happened. Now, the allies, like I said, the Five Eyes have been a bit silent on this case, particularly because, like I said, they are sort of courting India per se, due to the fact that India is a democratic nation. But then I tend to regress in many aspects of the nuts and bolts of how India runs its democracy, and particularly during this government. And I say this with a with a sort of a public observer here, who's living, breathing, and eating in India. So there has been a very much autocratic rule, and I don't say this with with any salt in my mouth. I'm just saying it plainly here, because if you look at what's happening in the high command, you call it the high command in the center, it has been very autocratic, meaning there's only communications from center to the state, right? Or from center to wherever their people are stationed at. And I think this whole Khalistan movement goes back not just with the BJP government as well, but it goes back to Indira Gandhi as well, if you think about it, because it was during Indira Gandhi that this whole Khalistan movement was happening, and a lot of people got killed and murdered as well. And I think this is very much related to not just this current government, but in all the governments per se, in Congress and in BJP. And they rejected Khalistan for many reasons, so therefore they all went to Canada, right? So I say this with a with an open mind. Okay, please take it with an open heart as well. One of the reasons why I say this government is very autocratic and dictatorialship is because it's not only me who's saying this. I think there's a lot of people in the international community who has been publicly saying in the news, and also regarding this particular case. Okay, so the allegations for the government's involvement in this, in this particular Nijjar's case, is directly pointing fingers to the government of India, which is the Modi's government. Okay, and a lot of the Indian government definitely is rejecting it, but the international community, particularly Canada, and I think even the United States, okay, let me just make it clear here. United States haven't said much about this this case, but what they did say is that they desired India to actually respond to these allegations, because these are very serious allegations, right? So, nevertheless, I think we will have to discuss about this, right? And for those of my students of international relations, I think you did ask me about this question, so I hope it shines some light. So anyways, I am a professor of international relations in a university in Nagaland, which is called NICU, Northeast Christian University. Assistant professor slash guest professor. So anyways, I think this is very much our bread and butter. And so like I said, this silence by the Western allies have been very much geared towards sort of counterbalancing the power relations of China, the rising of China. And it's one of the reasons why they haven't vocalized much as of now, but the international community still has very big voice on this matter. So let's see how it plays out, right? Also, on a serious note, Prime Minister of Canada, Justin, his stance on protecting Canadian citizens' rights is a testimony, right? Is a testimony to his leadership and courage to stand for the rights of men and women of his country, which is Canada's country, and citizens. And for some reason, I think he has been singled out, unfortunately, by the Five Eyes. But it's not the end. I think that says the case is still pending here, investigation is still going on. So PM's action, the Prime Minister's Canada, Justin Trudeau's action, gave a strong message to Modi's government and also the other countries, okay, saying out loud that they cannot do whatever you guys want and get away with it. Okay, this is a very loud message by Justin Trudeau, and I think for me, I appreciate Justin because of his bravery and his commitment to protecting the lives of communities, particularly minority communities in Canada. Don't forget, you don't go to other countries and kill people, okay? Despite the fact that even though there's allegations, and if there's, if the country rejects it, whoever it is, I think you don't do that in other people's home, right? You don't barge into other people's home and kill their own family members. That would be a crime, even in the lexicon of international law per se. Now, let us all go towards some of the repercussions of what this entails. Well, some of the repercussions, or the consequences of it, is the suspension of Canadian nationalists, the suspension of Indian nationalists, or the suspension of diplomatic expulsions, okay, from both sides, visa travel bans, okay. The embassy and the consulate will face a lot of problems and backlash from the public, and also from the functions of the UN Charter, the functions of the diplomatic charter, functions of the consular charter, right? And so these are some of the problems. There's obviously a security breach within the domestic and the international security. And we have international law that has been breached, okay, if it is the case. But whatever is the case, I think there is a breach on one side or the other. So let's try to conclude this here. All right, well, my cat is here. Okay, hold on. Joey, come here. Come here. Hold on. What's up, Julie? All right. Okay, guys. This is my cat, by the way, Joby. Say hi. Say hi. Hi. All right, there you go. Well, his name is Joby. He's been around with me for a while. He's been a very lazy cat lately. But I'll let you go, okay? Say bye. Say bye. Okay. All right, buddy. All right, I'm so sorry about this. Anyways, it's always good to have new guests around. Okay, so let's try to conclude this. It is a very grave crime per se, and this should not be happening in this, in this 21st century. But if the case is proven true, and if the investigation is pointing towards what Prime Minister Justin has been accusing India, or the allegations that has been pointed out, then I say it's a very grave violation and a crime under the international law. Particularly, it breaches the protection of the Canadian sovereignty, or any other country or nation, or even state for that matter per se. The rights and mandates of bilateral and multilateral relations according to the United Nations Charter is thrown out of the window. I think what the spokesperson for Canada, I did tell you about what the spokesperson of India had justified, saying that they disagree and deny what Canada is saying. Let me say what the Canadian spokesperson said. She said, Canada follows 3 principles. Number 1, principles such as Canada opted for truth. Truth in what? Truth in the case. Truth in the investigation, right? I'm not talking about lies here, and they're not talking about lies, okay? Number 2, Canada opted that their rights to protect the Canadian citizens is by far one of the most important things, and the protection of their citizens will be at all cost. Number 3, Canada will protect its own sovereignty, meaning Canada will protect its land sovereignty, its rules-based sovereignty, and it'll go by the international proceedings of what sovereignty actually defines. According to sources here, again, I'm going to point out, so let's try to sort of conclude this. Justin Trudeau called upon the Indian government to cooperate with the investigation. By the way, I did tell you that even the American government is asking India to cooperate, okay, due to the serious allegations. And Justin said here, any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is it is an unacceptable violation of the sovereignty, right? So before a cabinet meeting the next day, Justin said, we are not looking to provoke or escalate. We are simply laying out the facts as we understand them, right? So let's go back to the investigation again here. Canadian government sources with knowledge of the matter told the CBC I want you to look at some of the sources that I'm quoting here. If you think that I'm, pulling out all the rabbits from somewhere, I am actually quoting, and I'm actually citing sources, credible sources. Okay, so according to CBC, remember I told you about the signals intelligence and the human intelligence. So this is where it comes here. So the humans and signals intelligence provide evidence of the Indian government responsibility, right? By the way, the signals intelligence goes back to World War II. Actually, it goes back to World War I and also the Russia-Japan War, where the British Navy and the British Army, Royal Navy and the Army had intercepted the Russian, Russian connections. I suppose it was the British ship of HMS Diana, which was stationed in the Suez Canal. So they sort of intercepted wirelessly through signals when the Russians were trying to mobilize their fleet for the first time in history. So it sort of goes back. So basically, signals intelligence, which is also called SIGINT, is roughly it says intelligence gathering by interception of signals, whether it's communication between people or from electronic coded signals. It goes to so I said, the Russia and Japan war, which took place during 1904 to 1905, but then it also goes back to the South American War with the British, when they found gold, and there was everybody wanted a piece of the pie of the gold, and therefore you had a lot of, it's called the Boer War during the 1900s, okay, and the intelligence was used by the British Royal Navy and Army as well at that time. So this is what I'm talking about, the Five Eyes. They do this sort of, it's not a hunky-dory business, but it is a very serious business that they do, which is gathering information. And according to sources by the Five Eyes, it is unidentified, meaning it is anonymous, that they found sources, okay, basically saying that it was. So basically, I'm going to point out from the CBC, and this was actually an interview that was done by the CBC journalist with the ambassador of Canada, with the U.S. ambassador of Canada, David Cohen, right? So who is David Cohen? David Cohen was the U.S. ambassador of Canada. I think he is still current, by the way. He pointed out that the human and the signals intelligence within the Five Eyes provided evidence of the Indian government responsibility, including messages between Indian officials and intelligence from an unnamed Five Eye Alliance member. Okay. So David Cohen, who is the diplomat ambassador, later confirmed that Canada had received intelligence shared from the Five Eyes regarding the murder prior to the public allegations. So before the public allegations, people from the Five Eyes, or the members from the Five Eyes, already knew what was happening. That's why there's a reason why it's just come out right now, because as you notice, the case actually took place on the 18th of June 2023. But these heavy and serious allegations are just coming out right now, and even Justin Trudeau had spoken about it. So to conclude here, like I said, even the USA have asked, and one of their desires is that India should try to cooperate with this escalation, because these cases are definitely big crimes against a sovereign nation. Okay, you just don't come to another country and go on and kill people of their citizens. And this probes for a grave crime and a breach of rules based on the international law and order. It is a message to countries states and territories, okay, that they will face prosecution and jurisdiction, okay. Despite the fact that you are in power, that doesn't give you all the powers and and the mandate. So it's a message to countries and states and territories, whoever follows the rules and whoever claims that they are sovereign, claims that they are democratic or whatever, despite democratic or non-democratic, doesn't matter. If you're part of the United Nations Charter, or if you do have rules and regulations for your country or for your citizens, and if you have constitution, if you go by the rules, then you will have to face consequences. Okay, it could be economic, it could be legal. In this case, I think we are sort of seeing a prosecution and jurisdiction, jurisdiction that accounts for the actions and the crimes, okay, which are yet to be disclosed, and so you will be held accountable, okay, the government, okay, if you do not follow and if you just go by what you think are your rules, okay. So it doesn't work like that. And I want to say this to a lot of rogue states. I want to say this to a lot of countries in Africa, countries in Asia and the Middle East, and particularly governments who are ruled by leaders without any sense of responsibility for their people. I would want to challenge you, and I'm promising you that if you continue to do what you do, with all the corruption, with all your minions and all your henchmen supporting you and trying to rule your state, your country on your terms, well, I bet you that the law will catch up to you. Countries who champion the rights of humanity, champion the rights of sovereignty, free speech, good governments, will actually have a say. And I think you will be booted out very soon if you continue to abuse your power when you are in power. So I just wanted to point this out here. So in conclusion, I think this is let's wait for what what's going to happen, particularly with the findings of the investigation, right? All right, okay. Well, I think I'm running out of time, but I have a question here. If despite pressure from the U.S., what do you feel could be a possible repercussion on the diplomatic relations between India and Canada? Despite pressure from the U.S. Well, I think right now we are seeing a lot of diplomatic tussle, and it is not doing well. It is not going well for a lot of people who want to travel to Canada, and so this goes mostly for Indians who are traveling to Canada, and especially for students, for business people, for companies who are working on the basis of free trade. This is going to be a grave concern, I think, and I suspect if this is going to continue, and if Justin Trudeau is going forward with his allegations, and if the answers are not met by the Indian government, they've already said that they denied it, but if the allegations are true, then I think there's going to be some repercussions, not just by Canada, right? So we all know that what Indian government stand is, but like I said, if the world finds out about this case, and if if the evidences are provided publicly in all the news and the world news channels, the domestic Indian news channels will not have any say out here, I think, because the world in itself, the international community, is much bigger. It's a bigger house. Right, okay, I think that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoy my podcast. And I will put up my bibliography and the sources for you guys to check it out later. But anyways, I think that's it for now. Please follow me, subscribe, and share my podcast. All right, okay. I'll see you guys in my next podcast. Thank you.